Hi, this is Jeff Stone of Grandpa's Pride Barbecue from the Panhandle of Florida, and you are listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important in the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and frivolity show. If you don't know how to get in contact with the show or you don't know how to follow us socially, here's how you do all of that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at BBQCentralShow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website and the newly revamped and launched main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter, which you can once again sign up for on the brand new website. So head on over there and get your weekly dose Tuesday around 4 p.m. Eastern for a heads up on what's going to be happening on the show a bit later than that. And you can be up to speed before we actually get into the show later that evening. Coming up in about 12 minutes from now, it's been a 6 or 7 month layoff, but we are happy to have him aboard one more time. A barbecue icon in the industry, of course, Stephen Raichlen will be joining us. So we will catch up and see what's happened within that time gap that Stephen has been away, see if he's been traveling and writing or doing TV shows, recipes for Memorial Day, all the good stuff. So Stephen Raichlen to lead off the show here this evening. Then 35 past the first hour. It is the third Tuesday of the month. And that means 35 past. It is the creator of the best news live fire website out there on the internet right now, Wes Wright from cookoutnews.com. So we've heard about a potential sale between Danson and Char-Broil. We've heard about some new grills and cookers that are coming to market. There's more business that's been happening since last month when we last talked with Wes. So plenty of information, tidbits, and scoops to talk about with Wes. So looking forward to that, and that'll wrap the first hour. Then we will move to the second hour, where we will find quarterly guest and the creator of the Hey Grill Hey brand, Susie Bulloch, will once again join us. And maybe Todd, but definitely a Susie. So we'll see if Todd jumps in and take it from there when we'll talk more about Memorial Day. Susie, well known for obviously getting those recipes together. So if you are somebody tuning in for the first time this evening and you are hoping you are going to get geared up for Memorial Day weekend, there's no doubt about that half the guests are the folks that you want to listen to at the highest levels of their game, from recipe creation and telling you what you should be eating for Memorial Day this year. And then closing out the show, 35 past the second hour, is the product manager over Char-Broil. He was on the show towards the end of last year. We briefly touched on the full-size electric cooker that they have for sale called the Edge. It's Seth Sawyer from Char-Broil. We will once again dive into the Edge. We'll get a little bit more into the guts of it, specifics, details. Maybe you're somebody that's been considering it since he was on the first time, or maybe you're just catching up and realizing that there is a full-size, all-electric grill that's currently available on the market. Even though it's been out for about a year now, So we will discuss why you might want to look into that. Maybe you are somebody that's captured by where you live. You're not allowed to have the traditional live fire stuff, charcoal or burning wood or pellets for that matter, and electric is your only option. Well, here's a first-of-its-kind full-size electric grill that is said to have enough power to get you where you want to go. So we'll talk about all of that. We'll also talk about the electric stuff. We'll talk about 110, talk about 220. You would remember that I'd had a number of conversations with the most elite levels of a lot of the grill manufacturers that showed up in Louisville, Kentucky a couple months ago for HPB Expo, and I asked them about full-size electric grills, and they all said, we think that's something that we are either going to invest in or get on the creation channel about, but we're a little bit more on the side, not even a little bit, we're a lot of bit on the side of 220, and that's a whole different monster, so we'll talk about Seth with that as well. And that's how the show lays out. So 14 past the first hour and or 9 minutes from now, Stephen Raichlen, then Wes Wright after that. Second hour, Susie Bulloch and Seth Sawyer from Char-Broil. Don't forget you can follow me socially on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat at BBQ Central Show. And we say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can, of course, go to Facebook or Twitch/BBQ Central Show. And you can also take the show in via YouTube /RD Rempe. And guess what? There is a new YouTube poll question of the week, and I am asking you this. Does it matter if a barbecue restaurant you go to has Brunswick stew on the menu? And currently 100% of you are saying no. Does not matter. But since it does have a association with plenty of barbecue restaurants, maybe you're a lover of Brunswick stew. And while you don't demand that it be on there, it might hurt your feelings a little bit if you show up to a barbecue restaurant and Brunswick stew is not on the menu and you go home a little butthurt about it. So that is the poll question of the week tonight. We'll be asking all guests as we lead our segments the poll question of the week as well and see what they have to say. So we'll start here this evening. First off, many of you are saying that Meathead's appearance last week was one of his best ever, and that the info that he shared was invaluable. Many of you are saying that you had no idea how accomplished Mrs. Meathead was during her professional tenure. Very impressive, no doubt about it. And many of you also loving the Smokin' Joe's Pit Barbecue Podumentary, that's the 2023 version, and how willing Joe is to share his information, his experience working on his food trailer here over the last 7 months, although we were just covering the first quarter last week when he was on the show. But many of you also suggested that Joe rough up his nephew a little bit for the error that he made on opening day with the liquid butter bottle popping and contaminating the deep grease fry. Let's not encourage Joe to rough his nephew up. He might have just been helping out of his own volition, wanted to be a good kid, help Uncle Joe out. Well, lo and behold, that plastic bottle melts and it leaks into the fries, and now fries are off the menu on day one, aside from opening 45 minutes late. But it seems to be going gangbusters right now. So if you love Joe's podumentary segments, fear not. There's 2 more left to go here in 2023. The next round will be the next 3 months, so month 4 through 7. And we'll probably have caught up into real time by that point. And then the last one we get, we'll see what's happening as that year comes to a close. And he'll just be in business over a year at that point. So looking forward to catching up with Joe as the year progresses. Feedback from the show last week. Dennis in Colorado is writing in. Greg, loved the Meathead segment. Can't wait to see his new book. Maybe if he needs to trim it down, he could do a volume 2. Chris Young's explanation of the traffic jam on the surface of the meat may explain the gray zone on the non-reverse seared steaks. Love, love, love the new website look. So much better than the other one that you had. Lastly, Smokin' Joe's segment was full of great information and stories. Your Centralite and official Colorado embedded correspondent, Dennis. Thanks for writing in, Dennis. Jamie Estes is writing in. Gregory, you are missing out on the glorious food called canned ham. Try mixing in deviled eggs. You're welcome. Regards, Jamie. Nope.
Get that free stuff out of here.
Jeremy in Ohio is writing in. Greg, while I enjoyed the segment with Robert Moss and learning all about the Barbecue Hall of Fame stuff, was way more fascinated learning about the history of one of my favorite dishes, Brunswick stew. Thank you, Robert Moss, for some great insight. Love the show, and I am a podcast listener only. Regards, Jeremy. Jeremy, thank you for writing in. And finally, we get an email from Nick in Oregon, who writes in, Greg, Chris Young is your best new guest by a lot. He has great energy. The subject matter he's covering is second to none. His videos are tremendous production. And how many pieces of things cut in half does he actually own that he's filming? That's incredible. Please keep having him on. He's great. Live fire watcher only on Twitch. Regards, Nick. There you go. Live fire watcher only. I'm saying live fire, but I mean live watcher. It's my phrase. So thank you for writing in, everybody. Glad you're enjoying the shows and the content and the subject matter that we are bringing you here week after week. Stephen Raichlen is in the green room, and he's ready to go. We'll get to him here in just 1 second. I will talk to you quickly about Pits and Spits. The best-looking, best-cooking smokers and grills currently available, offering a full family of products, including traditional offlet smokers, wood pellet grills, charcoal grills, travel grills, combination pits, fire pits, and much more. Pits and Spits has been one of the only American fabrication shops that's focused on smokers and grills for almost 40 years. Why is that important? Because they're able to put an emphasis on quality and design, locally sourced materials, and an unmatched attention to detail. From the fully welded barrels to the heavy gauge steel, they bring both function and beauty to life. Pits and Spits builds every product with the intention that it is going to get passed down from generation to generation. It doesn't matter if you're a competitive barbecue cook or if you're just a backyard ham and egger like me. It takes the barbecue and grilling game to the next level. There is a product for you in the portfolio. Go to the website pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central and use promo code BBQ Central when you're checking out if you order $500 or more. So easily done if you're buying a grill, but have to accumulate some other accessories to get there otherwise and meet that $500 threshold. But regardless, however you do it, once you get there, and our promo code BBQ Central at checkout for a free spice pack, their thanks to you for doing business with them and supporting the show here. Again, the website, pitsandspits.com, and in the Pits and the Spits, it's a double T in the Pits and a double T in the Spits.com/BBQ Central, and use promo code BBQ Central for a free spice pack. When you accumulate $500 or more, use it at checkout, and we'll be back with Stephen Raichlen right after this. Stick around.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Here's what we learned this week. A friend of mine ordered cooking pellets. Said I went to the website, ordered them up. The shipping is ridiculous. So I emailed Chris Becker. I said, what's going on with the shipping? He said, well, we offered as a courtesy, but really not able to ship at the most competitive prices. However, if you go to Amazon.com or Lowe's.com or Walmart.com, they are all vendors to Chris, and you can get the same price for the 40-pound bags, except shipping is included. That's cheaper. Believe you me, because I heard what my buddy was paying for 2 40-pound bags, and the shipping was more than the total cost of the pellets. Look, lesson learned. So go to cookinpellets.com, see the flavors, and then go to one of those fine retailers and save on the shipping. And that's what Chris Becker, the owner of the company, is telling you to do. Hey, my first guest tonight is an icon in the industry, a host of TV shows like Planet Barbecue, the creator of Barbecue University, a James Beard award-winning author of some of the most important books on the topic of live fire cooking that have ever been written. Of course, we are welcoming back to the show for the first time in these many months, Stephen Raichlen. Stephen, before we play catch-up, we have to go and do the YouTube poll question of the week. And I'm asking everybody tonight, when you go to a barbecue restaurant, is it important to you that Brunswick stew is on the menu, yes or no?
It is not important to me.
All right.
It's there. I like it, but it's not a deal breaker.
I'm wondering, you're a historian of food and such. Do you happen to know where the birth of Brunswick stew comes from?
I have some vague notions, but not enough at the top of my head to talk about it right now.
I believe, if I remember from a whole week ago, it is the state of Virginia, which, when I was talking with Robert Moss, a great barbecue historian, also agreed with me that perhaps the state of Virginia is widely underappreciated and undervalued, and I think is credited with the whole evolution of Southern-style barbecue.
Well, that I agree with you. And I have had terrific barbecue in Virginia. And yet, if I were to ask you to name a single super famous, iconic barbecue restaurant in Virginia, I bet you couldn't do it.
No doubt about it. I couldn't come up with one off the top of my head. I could come up with 20 in Texas and maybe 10 or 15 in Kansas City. Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's weird how the meccas are like that for us. But in any event, we've been off from each other, let's say 6 months or so since our last visit. I'm assuming that maybe you've been up to some type of traveling or doing work or research. So what have you been up to?
Oh, boy. Well, a lot going on in Reichlandia. I guess the big news is at the end of the month, my new TV show, Planet Barbecue, will start airing on public television. We shot the show in San Antonio back in January, returned to do our field trips in February. And, TV show, it might only last a half an hour, but it really takes probably 3 to 4 weeks to produce each 30-minute segment. So that's one big piece of news. Let's see, another big piece of news in Reichlandia. We have a new home for Barbecue University. We're returning to the Alisal Ranch in Solvang, California. If that name sounds familiar, you've been watching my Project Smoke and Project Fire TV shows because we shot 2 seasons at the Alisal. Picture 10,000 acres of gorgeous ranch land, more than 100 horses to ride when in between your grill sessions at Barbecue University. I love being there, and I just can't wait to come back.
Let's follow up on a couple of those items. Let's talk about the TV show first. As you said, it's getting ready to launch. And then this is going to be a Planet Barbecue entitled television show versus the other ones, which were like Project Fire, Project Smoke.
Yeah. I notice all my shows are 2 words, right? Barbecue University, Primal Grill, Project Smoke, Project Fire, Planet Barbecue. It's actually a show I've really wanted to make for a long time. You may remember about 12 years ago, I came out with a book called Planet Barbecue. It chronicled my travels around the world's barbecue trail. And we've reprised the idea for the new show, but we have a fixed set in San Antonio. It's actually at the old Spanish governor's mansion, really beautiful backdrop. And we had grill masters from Brazil, from Argentina, from the Caribbean come join us. And in between their strutting their stuff, I did my interpretations, dishes that I saw in my travels around Planet Barbecue. So it was a really fun show to produce, very informative, and I hope that viewers will find it as fun and informative too.
How do you pick how do you pick San Antonio out of all the locations across the nation?
Well, San Antonio, first of all, if you think about a melting pot city, it is the preeminent melting pot city in America. More than half the population looks south to Mexico, completely bilingual city. It's also kind of the southernmost point of the Texas barbecue triangle. So you have traditional Texas barbecue, you have Mexican grilling, you have contributions from all over the Latino world of grilling. And then something we don't tend to think about, but the Texas brewing industry began with German immigrants who came to San Antonio in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And so one of the shows, I mean, several of the shows, we pay homage to that German tradition too.
You've done a number of live fire related TV shows, of course. It's been, as you had mentioned, Barbecue University, Primal Grill, Project Fire, Project Smoke, now Planet Barbecue. As you look back on these shows and all of these seasons, can you pick one out that just sticks with you as being your favorite for whatever reason?
That's the favorite child question. I think probably, in a funny way, Project Smoke was had I love all my shows and I'm proud of all my shows, but Project Smoke was a little different. Normally I write the book first and then I do the TV show. And with Project Smoke, I actually did the show first and then I wrote the book. And I think that was both a show and certainly a book that got a lot of people through COVID. We sold more copies of Project Smoke during COVID than we had when the book first came out. So I feel that was a very special book. It was it was based on the premise that all barbecue is smoked, but not all smoked foods are barbecue. And we think about smoked salmon or smoked cheese or smoked cocktails. They're not really what you'd call barbecue, but they use this incredible principle of live fire and wood smoke to generate flavors that are just often otherworldly.
I remember when we were doing our origin story of Stephen Raichlen and we were talking about the beginnings of doing the TV shows. I was first introduced to you through Barbecue University on PBS, 100 years ago, it seems like now, and inspired me to get out and try and hone my skills a little bit more. But you were very candid during the interview and you said, man, it was really uncomfortable for me to be in front of the camera and then to watch back and all that stuff. All these times later, especially in this instance, being your most recent time, are you much more comfortable in front of the camera? Have you gotten over some of those mental hurdles?
Oh, yeah, much more comfortable. I mean, I actually enjoy it now, and I look forward to it. And, the camera goes on, and I light up and start talking. Now, I still approach TV with the head of a writer rather than with the head of a TV star. So I have to, when I write, I'm the process is you are building phrases from words, sentences, and paragraphs, and then pages. And there's a kind of self-editing process that happens in your head. And I think that's been the hardest thing for me to change because TV is a very spontaneous medium. And you know what you want to say, but you can't edit when you're doing TV. Comes out of your mouth and it goes on tape.
Did you ever think, because you are such a prolific writer, that it might be, I don't even know how to ask this right. You're the writer. You ever thought about just writing it and let somebody else come in and do the cooking? Maybe they're a little bit more off the cuff and can kind of make your words their own, but you're the one creating the content for it, and you're just having the, what's the name of the play where the guy was writing all the words for the other guy to bed down the Broadway? Yes, Cyrano de Bergerac.
Very good. Who ever thought we would have named a famous 19th century French novel? Yeah, in a barbecue show. But see, that's what I mean. No, to answer your question, not yet. I'm, like I said, I've gone from hating TV to actually loving TV, love doing it. So I want to keep it that. But, with my website, barbecuebible.com, we have brought a number of talented people on board. If you follow our blog, Steve Nestor, who is a graduate of Barbecue University and is a physical therapist by day, just loves barbecue. So he does a lot of our blogs now. He does a lot of our testing. This week, in fact, we did a sort of a face-off between a ribeye and a strip steak. Jared Ryder, who runs my social media, is doing a lot of blogs. Nancy Losky, of course. Even Daniel Hale, our website manager, is starting writing blogs. So I do feel like I'm sort of bringing in hands and creativity from team members more than ever, and I must say I love it.
Stephen Raichlen joining us here on the show, barbecuebible.com, the website, of course. So aside from some domestic travel, were you able to stretch the wings and go international at all?
Yeah, I'm actually just 6 days back from a 5-week trip to Europe. It started in Paris. I was the guest of honor at the Paris Barbecue Expo, which was quite amazing. Your listeners may remember I have a degree in French literature, and through a very circuitous route, that's how I got into this crazy business. But France is sort of now where the United States was about 25 years ago, meaning that they are just discovering barbecue now in a big way. And this expo was incredible. I mean, there are now French-made grills. There are French-made French barbecue influencers. And I think the French are going to embrace barbecue in the same way that Germans did maybe 20 years ago, that the Dutch have. So that was exciting. After that, we flew down to Puglia on the heel of Italy. That was a sort of vacation and research piece. Then up to Florence to meet with a winery, a 1,000-year-old winery that may do a TV show at the winery at some point. Back to France, a mixture of work and play, and I'm not the kind of guy who can kind of take a vacation and lie on the beach. Wherever I travel, I'm always trying to learn something new about food, learn something new about barbecue.
When we look at the French barbecue scene, and you're setting a picture of where it's at currently, but how are they set up in regards to proteins and spices and all the things that we're probably taking for granted at this point? Some would say a lot of that segment is actually oversaturated with rubs and seasonings and sauces. But how are they set up right now?
Well, they're just at the beginning. I mean, I think many people don't even know what a rub is. It's in French you say a mélange d'épices, a mixture of spices. But they are bringing their own culture and their own history and tradition to barbecue, as well as also trying to replicate American barbecue. France had colonies in North Africa, so ingredients like merguez, which is a spicy lamb sausage from Morocco, charmoula, harissa, those are hot pepper paste. Those are flavors that the French are very comfortable with, and they're incorporating them into barbecue. I was having fun because I was kind of, my culinary background after this French lit degree, I went to cooking school in Paris. And so I was kind of trying to recreate in my mind, how would you do a boeuf bourguignon, burgundy beef on the grill? Well, you take the beef, you marinate it in the red wine, and then you make a red wine, bacon, and mushroom sauce with it. And instead of braising the beef for 3 hours, take a tender beef and skewer it alternately with mushrooms and onions and bacon and do a kebab. So that kind of exercise. And I think, like has happened in Quebec, where I started doing television with Le Maître du Grill. And at first, it was all about kind of replicating American barbecue. And now they are discovering their own flavors and creating a true Quebecois style of barbecue. And I think the same thing will happen in France.
As we had mentioned, you are a prolific writer. Are there any books in the hopper right now?
Well, there are. And actually, I just signed a book that may sound extremely iconoclastic, but the next book is actually leaving the grill, and I'm exploring the plancha, these outdoor griddles that have kind of taken the outdoor cooking space by storm. And I will be writing a book on the Raichlen take on outdoor griddling.
Do you prefer a plancha that is over a live fire, or are you also pretty accepting of all these freestanding propane-fired griddles that you're seeing being released by every major manufacturer?
I am accepting of the convenience of the freestanding ones. Personally, I'm a slab of metal over a fire on my grill for a very simple reason, because when you plancha on a grill, you can take a handful of wood chips or chunks, throw them on the fire, close the grill lid, and then you're both griddling and smoking at the same time. So, I actually, you know what? If you read the New York Times tomorrow, I have a story in the New York Times about the new plancha grills tomorrow, including a couple of great recipes. And for those, I worked on some of the new generation of freestanding griddles, and it's one more way to get great, amazing flavor outdoors. So
we might be 2 weeks outside of Memorial Day weekend, which for some folks across the across the country are indicating that grilling season and barbecue season is here. Of course, we don't subscribe to that, but for folks that might be looking for a few ideas for recipes, what are you looking at this year?
Well, we just published a blog on barbecuebible.com. It was 8 great recipes for May, so I'll tell you some of those. One is a key lime mojito, right, for drinking. That's not smoked or grilled, but it goes great with barbecued food. Then pork shooters, where you take a little round of sausage and wrap it in bacon and fill the resulting cavity with crab and smoke the whole shebang. That's a really nice appetizer. Great American burger, always fun. An interesting one, a spatchcock chicken from the Republic of Georgia. So flavored with Caucasus mountain spices. But what's cool about it is it gets a rhubarb barbecue sauce. Now, rhubarb, of course, is in season now. The acidity of the rhubarb goes great with the grilled chicken. For fish lovers, there's a grill blackened tuna with Cajun remoulade. That's really easy. First timers ribs, because Memorial Day, you got to have ribs for Memorial Day. Grilled asparagus with charred lemon vinaigrette. Well, asparagus is big time in season right now. Finally, grilled pineapple for dessert. So, any 2 or 3 or all 8 of those ideas would make a great Memorial Day spread.
Stephen, if you can believe it, next Wednesday, we will be announcing exclusively right here on the show, as we have done for the last handful of years, what will be the 2023 Barbecue Hall of Fame class. You were inducted to the Hall of Fame back in 2015, 8 years ago, if you can believe that. And I'm not going to ask who you are voting for, since you actually get to vote for 4 of the 10 finalists. However, as you were perusing the list, who sticks out to you as someone who you especially admire, or that you might be gaining inspiration from, or was an inspiration to you as you were coming up?
As a judge, I really don't feel comfortable answering that question. But one thing I can assure you, having been through the process myself, is that the winners will be eminently qualified, and it will be the biggest thrill of their life to be up on stage and accept that award.
After 6 months, he is back and better than ever as we're playing catch-up. BarbecueBible.com is his website. This is Stephen Raichlen. Stephen, always appreciate the time, and we will do it again soon.
Thanks a lot. Grill on.
That's Stephen Raichlen right there. Again, the website, BarbecueBible.com, and there were some great recipe ideas. So if you're scrambling and looking what you should be making this coming Memorial Day, then I would say that's something you might want to take a look at closer at barbecuebible.com for the blog, and you will be ready to rock and roll. I didn't ask him to say, who did you vote for? I just said names that stick out to you that you admire or that inspired you. I mean, how classless would I have to be to say, who did you vote for? Of course he's not going to tell me. He's a Hall of Famer. He's voting. Not that much of a maniac. Well, I meant to ask him what his net worth was, and I totally forgot to do that. You know I'm about that. I wasn't going to do that either. Wes Wright is ready to go. Before we get to him, it's Primo Grills time. That's right. What do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they are fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We love that you can get rip-roaring hot for high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday lineup of ceramic cookers? The real ability to do true two-zone cook. Two-zone cooking is very important to both professional and backyard cooks alike. It's the best way to manage a fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker isn't very realistic. Why? Because it's a round cooker. Enter Primo Grill, the game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute that two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. So when you break it down, there's more than 60 different ways to configure the Primo cooker to cook on. So you're only limited by your culinary imagination. If you're in it for the accessories, they're not disappointing there either. Primo Grill rotisserie, Primo Grill pizza accessory, the rib rack, the half pans, the full pans, everything you want. They're ready to go. Only sold through dealers. So go to primogrill.com, find the dealer near you, look at all those Primo ovals that are available, and then buy the best one that fits your needs. Again, that's primogrill.com. Find the dealer near you. Here's the bottom line. Best ceramics in the biz? Yes. Patented technology? Yes. True two-zone cooking capabilities? Yes. Multiple sizes of ovals. So come on. Visit that dealer near you or check them out online first, primogrill.com. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram. We're back with Wes Wright right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
We thank Stephen Raichlen for joining us last segment. This portion being brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or connect via Bluetooth. If you have smart speakers in your home, there's a really good chance that Fireboard connects with those. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. And don't forget about the Fireboard Spark. I used that over the weekend to cook 3 different turkey breasts from the butcher shop there, Kevin Green out there in Pensacola, Florida. That thing is a dynamo. If you don't have the Spark, you are missing out on life in general. I highly recommend one. $145. It's a one-channel Fireboard. And it's an instant read meat thermometer, and it's highly accurate. I tested it in boiling water. My next guest tonight, the creator of cookoutnews.com and the third Tuesday of the month regular guest, here to talk about the latest in the live fire industry news-wise. We welcome back our pal, Wes Wright. Wes, before we get going tonight, it's YouTube poll question of the week time. As I'm asking all guests and all Centralites that are watching or listening to the show, Wes, does it matter to you if a barbecue restaurant has Brunswick stew on the menu? Yes or no?
It's not a deal breaker, but I do really like Brunswick stew. I eat soup all the time. Soups and stews are like my go-to.
So it's yes or no?
No.
All right. Currently, 100% of folks are saying no, that it is not that big of a deal. So I'm with you. If Brunswick stew is on the menu at a barbecue restaurant, A, I'm excited, and B, I'm getting a bowl. And if it's really good, I'm probably getting one to go.
Yeah, I make it at home, but I just, use what I've left over. I don't usually have a brisket and, everything, like 3 different types of meats to put in it. But
Wes Wright joining us. So cookoutnews.com is the website. And let's start here because I thought this was going to be something that was highly public at this point, but now we're sitting a week and a day later from hearing that Danson's has sold to W.C. Bradley. So before we start talking or anything like that, we're using terms that are qualifiers like allegedly, reportedly, through trusted sources, things like this. So we can't confirm fully that. I mean, I can, but we're not going to here, but we're just saying allegedly that, for a week now, this is stretched out. So do you know anything specifically? Do you feel confident in saying this is a firm thing, or is something happening behind the scenes where this deal might fall apart allegedly?
I think it depends on what the deal will actually be. If they buy them outright, I think we'll hear about it. If they're doing something like issuing them debt or something behind the scenes just to be an investor, we may not necessarily know about it unless they want us to. I've looked for any kind of trail I can find that would indicate that, and I haven't seen it yet. But that doesn't mean it isn't happening.
In your discovery work, are you able to see Danson's as a company that is just struggling financially more than other companies in the same industry?
They don't put a lot public. I'd say there's a couple things that, and that's, we'll use the word allegedly again. I don't know anything, but, um, they took out an interest only mortgage at the height of the craziness in the pandemic, which to me means you're spending a lot of cash. That it's not factual. I haven't seen their financials, but if you have an interest only mortgage on a brand new building you bought, that seems kind of weird to me. And then plus they haven't come out with a lot of new products, and I haven't seen a lot of news on them in general, which to me means you're dialing back on what you're spending, which, I would think that, that means you're struggling financially.
If we look at all of the grill and barbecue pit manufacturers, maybe we'll keep the barbecue pit manufacturers off to the side. They might be a different beast. But if we look at the bigger grill manufacturers, names that names that you see in all the big retail outlets or specialty fire shops, are a lot of these companies shoestringing it and that's just how they've operated all the way through? Or are a lot of these companies fairly fiscally fit and it's just a few that might be stringing out?
I think the way that you could break it down is if a company did a lot of expansion during the pandemic, then they're probably having problems financially. It's not so much that the sales went crazy and people thought it'd last forever. It's that they took that, and there was also all sorts of supply chain issues from getting parts from overseas. So what they did is they just bought tons of inventory to make up for the fact that they couldn't reliably get it. Then once that all came to a screeching halt, if you spent a lot of money because you thought that was going to last forever, not that you were just filling orders and going about your business, then you're left with way too much capacity. So I think there's a good amount that have felt that, as opposed to not. Some of the smaller ones, or if you're more direct to consumer, you're more insulated because you don't have that inventory pipeline.
Wes Wright joining us here on the show, cookoutnews.com's website. Middleby has some lines that are connected devices, let's call them. So both you have master built line with that gravity cooker and the Kamado Joe, the ceramic cooker that also has these capabilities. Between the two, which one would you buy and why?
Yeah, so I have a Gravity series actually that I bought. So, that's a good answer to that question.
You bought it on your own?
Yeah, I bought it. I paid for it. I just thought it was an interesting product that I wanted to play around with. So I bought it last fall, I think. And between the two, that's the one I'd go with. It has its faults. I'd say the build's a little bit on the crappier side. They could spend a little money there, and their app too for connected grilling. It tells me every 15 minutes that it's done preheating after it's been preheated for hours. So that's kind of annoying. I just think, with a connected Kamado grill, I thought the whole benefit of Kamado grills was they retain heat. So it's easier, we'll call it doing like a manual cook to do that. If you're doing it via computer, I don't understand the benefit then of having a Kamado grill necessarily. I guess you maybe spend less fuel, but you can get a Gravity series for, they run deals where they're $350, $400 as opposed to spending upwards of $2,000, and it'll largely do the same thing.
I was on a phone call. I'm giving you some behind the curtain stuff here, but I think it lends to the conversation. I'm on a phone call with a guy who is assuming some kind of an official role with another decent sized ceramic cooker company, and it's reaching out to people that might be connected or know some stuff. We're having a conversation about ceramic cooker industry, and this is all leading to the fact that we talked about Connected Joe, and he asked me what I thought about that. And as you're talking about what you were under the impression some of these features were, my question is, do you think that the Connected Joe now eliminates a perceived barrier to entry from folks that maybe buy into ceramic cooking 95%, but the other 5% is having to learn how to start a fire or deal with charcoal? They don't want to mess it up, so instead of like buying it and just leaving it in the corner and they've spent money and they have a boat anchor, they just don't go buy it. I mean, that's not good for the retailer. They want it obviously to sell. Whether you use it or not, they don't care. They want it moved. But does this potentially bridge that gap?
Yeah, getting into, I think for whatever reasons, people they're more used to like Weber kettles, so stepping up to a Kamado because it's a bigger investment, it can be a little more intimidating. So if you know that I really can't screw this up. I think you're right in that front, that it does, eliminate that barrier to entry where you might get into it via connected grilling so you get more comfortable and then just fall in love with the overall technology of Kamado style grills.
Has there been any feedback on that Connected Joe unit that you've heard?
In Middleby's earnings call, they just loosely said that it's, generated interest in their brand or something like that, which that's going to happen anytime you release a new grill because people are going to like it on social media and share it. But it's still too early to say, what that translates to in sales. Because they said that what they sold in Q1 for their residential business is going to be the same as Q2. Some of that's inventory, but it's kind of weird because Q2 you're getting into like the heart of the grilling season. So, and the Connected Joe is not going to have that inventory problem that other grills have because it's brand new.
I don't think I've seen anything about it. I'm pretty active on social, and I see when companies are really making a push to get new stuff out in front of everybody or get in the hands of influencers, and I don't think I've seen anything. Are they missing the boat?
Yeah, I don't see anything either. I saw that first, let's say, week there was, because they push, they have
because
PR
you posted
companies
about it.
Yeah, I posted about it, but then PR companies push it out to, like every, very consumer oriented brand out there, like, USA Today. I'm just throwing that out there. We'll write like, it was like a revolution in grilling and stuff like that. But since then, no, I haven't seen anyone or heard of anyone using one.
Weber revamped their grilling app recently and made a number of upgrades to it. There was a pretty interesting excerpt on your site from the Traeger CEO, Jeremy Andrus, talking about the amount of time and money that they're putting into the connected experience piece. So I asked the question again, and I don't know if you have any idea, but is there any data that you can see or that has been given to you by any company, Wes, that shows what percentage of customers are using a connected piece regularly versus wanting it on the cooker to say they have it?
I haven't seen hard data that's sliced that way. What Traeger does do when they release their earnings is they'll talk about how much people are using their grills, right? So that's a good way to do it. They'll take all that data from everyone that's cooking and they'll analyze it and they'll say, okay, people are still using our grills. That's a good thing. And they'll sometimes say, we had 10% more, connected sessions or whatever they term it than we did prior. So, I think in terms of pellet grills, I'm sure there's quite a few. And I know Home Depot too said before that any of their tech focused grills have been selling better and been more resilient than some of the more classic styles. So, it's a feature people want. Whether or not they then use it a ton, I don't know. Traeger seems to think that it's going well, so they're probably the best source.
Can they break it down really into minutia? For instance, if I use the Traeger app when I have my Timberline fired up, might be just to check temperature, maybe on another side of the house, or I'm getting close to a point in the cook where I want to do something else, so I just need to see where the temperature of the cooker is at. But I'm not downloading recipes. I'm not making any temperature adjustments, anything like that. Does the data give them, or does the app give them data that shows, well, these people are just connected superficially, and then these people are actually pulling down stuff from the cloud, and these people are putting stuff back up into the cloud? Does it give you that type of heads up?
I'm not sure if it would give you recipes or not, because I use any of my connected grills kind of the same way. I just use it to check temperature, but I do everything else out there. But I mean, everything from the controller is being sent to the cloud. So if you access something on their app like a recipe, I guess they wouldn't know it on the back end, and then any data has to go through the cloud. So that's what they dissect and use, and it's good data for them too, because a lot companies that don't use connected grills, they look at consumables, like not only like sauces and rubs, but things like how much pellets are people buying. But that's not the best data, because if all of a sudden a company comes out with a pellet that everyone likes, then you might have a drop in that, and that's not because people aren't using your grill. So, it's pretty reliable data. So I understand why they keep it and report on it.
You seeing any trends sprouting up from the consumers heading into the grilling season?
I still think griddles and pizza ovens are going to be big this year. I mean, they've been big for years now, and I think they still will be.
Grilla Grills has a Grilla Power Station available for sale on their website. $300. You know anything about it? And is this something that other companies might offer?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little disappointed with that release. I'll be honest with you, because they've been hyping up that they were going to release new products, plural, since they said they were going to release them last fall. And they've been giving them all sorts of superlatives about what they're going to be. And all that they've released so far, as we are weeks away from Memorial Day, is it's really just a portable power station that's branded with their name on it. And there's lots of portable power stations out there.
Yeah, but they also unveiled that modular kitchen piece, right?
They unveiled it, but they've had it for years. If that's a product that's been around. They just
new to me.
Yeah, the new owners that bought them last summer or last spring. I saw they had Instagram posts about how it's introducing our modular kitchen, but they've had that product.
Would you buy that?
Yeah, I think it's cool. They do that in Char-Broil has something similar too.
Yes.
They don't. I think it's a great idea to offer modular kitchen pieces.
They don't publicize that either, now that I think about it.
No, I don't know why. I think American Outdoor Brands that owns Grilla Grills understands that that's a differentiator, because in a lot of their investment materials they'll feature it. So I think they're going to continue building off that. But it's a good way to get into outdoor kitchens where you don't need to hire a contractor and do all that stuff. You can just buy it in pieces and build it out how you want. I think that's great.
Wes, all this talk is nonsense. Let's get to what's really important here. This segment, of course, as I was talking with Stephen Raichlen, you probably heard it on the way out. He was refraining from giving me his choices, but next Wednesday we'll be announcing exclusively here on the show on a Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern who the class of the 2023 Barbecue Hall of Fame is going to be. I'm sure you've seen the list of 10 finalists. Who are you putting in if you had a vote?
Yeah, this is my completely ignorant opinion because I don't follow competitive.
You're allowed to have an opinion, Wes. No qualification needed. We're all allowed.
I'd go. I'm looking at my list here. I'd go Malcolm Reed, friend of the show there, and,
yes.
and everyone knows him. I'd go David Close, Fast Eddie, and then Dave Raymond, just because I'm a big Sweet Baby Ray's fan.
Wow, all right. So Dave Close, famed pit maker, Fast Eddie, who, of course, a competitor and famed pit maker as well, Dave Raymond, Sweet Baby Ray, and Malcolm Reed, so a friend of the show, as you had mentioned.
Have you given your opinion on who you think will be in?
Oh, have I given my opinion? Next Tuesday, the embedded correspondents and I break down this list ad nauseum, and then we put up who we think should be in the Hall of Fame, and then the next day we get immediate results to see how smart or stupid we were. So you have to wait a week. But, yes, we go on full display, and we don't hold back, and we've been doing it for years. But this is what makes the Barbecue Central Show the Barbecue Central Show. If you aren't familiar with Wes, you should be going over to his website, cookoutnews.com. You can follow him on social media as well and keep up with him there. Wes, always appreciate the time. We'll see you in June.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Always fun.
That's Wes. I think Wes was still toying around. Maybe he wasn't toying around with going to Memphis in May. That's this coming week. It's probably a little too late now. We're almost getting in midweek while we're down there. Oh, yeah, that sounds like a good time. I'll reach out to Wes. We'll put that trip together. We will burn Memphis in May down next year. You can believe that. We'll burn it down. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up the first hour here. If you have any emails or questions or feedback on the show, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Hey, look at that. The creator of the Flip Grill is in. Andrew Barnhart from the great metropolis of Berlin, Ohio, home of Amish people and cheese and the Flip Grill. All right, stick around. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rampey.
And we thank Wes Wright for joining us last segment. CookoutNews.com, his website. Follow him on social media. Typically, it's at Cookout News. See the big C logo that is associated with his website. Nothing like thinking somebody's a really big fan, and then they ask you if you're going to do your piece, and you realize that maybe they've been listening less than a year. That's all right. Wes is doing a great job doing what he's doing. One couldn't expect that he goes and listens to all 1,238 episodes of the show and know the replete history of it, or complete. But yes, next week, next Tuesday. Ooh, that's a good question from Tom. Oh, I'm sorry, Tom. Tom Looney Luoma. We're talking about connected grills and probes. Which probe, in your opinion, has the longest range? A couple I have used lose connection when I walk in the house. Tom, we need to know brands. I'm guessing the one that loses connection in the house might be wireless, and it might rhyme with meter. That's just a guess. You tell me. We'll figure it out, Tom, through the rest of the show here. Anyway, in regards to Wes, and if you are a fan of the show, next Tuesday in the second hour, it's the fourth Tuesday, the embedded correspondence will be in, and we will break down the list of 10 final names, 4 of which will make it into the Barbecue Hall of Fame. And the embedded correspondence and I will give you what our definitive list would be of those 4 names. And then, not even 24 hours later, like hardly even 12 hours later, we will be joined by Elizabeth from the American Royal, possibly Robert Moss again one more time, as we reveal who the class of the Barbecue Hall of Fame will be in 2023. We'll also learn who the legacy inductees will be. Those are people that aren't currently living. And then I was told that there would be an Impact Award this year as well, so we'll be learning who the Impact Award is going to, or what organization, or what group. So plenty of stuff to get to within the week, but that's why I'm asking all the guests here this evening, both the YouTube poll question of the week, and if they had a vote, which 4 are they putting in? You're not offending anybody. We all know everybody's deserving. If you had a vote, who are you putting in? Weston, puss out. Wes said it's Dave Close, it's Fast Eddie, it's Malcolm Reed, and said another name, too, that I can't remember right off the top of my head. Who was it? Oh, Dave Raymond. Yeah, of course, Sweet Baby Ray's, because his kids love Sweet Baby Ray's. All right. We are pointing to the second hour. Go ahead and refresh your libations, and we will come back for more great interviews, more great insight, and more fun and frivolity. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Briskedor, the barbecue wizard, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Bye-bye!
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me!
Fine, how you doing?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Char-Broil! It's all about the Char-Broil, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 54 wieners.
Listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central show where we talk about live fire barbecue and grilling related topics. Doing it live from
Palm City, USA, Cleveland.
If you're just tuning in and you missed the first hour, number one, where you been? Number two, don't worry. We're recording for a podcast which will be released through the course of the week. Hour number one will be released at 11:55 tonight. Now, since the move to the new website... Oh, wait a second. You can believe it or not. Weighing in from perhaps Chardon or Willoughby, Ohio, is none other than Madison Rempe. Hey-o! Saying hi from Maddie and Steve. So, Maddie and Steve, wherever you are within Lake County, thank you for tuning in. Happy to have you aboard for the second hour of the most prolific live fire barbecue and grilling show everywhere or anywhere where you can experience fun and frivolity at every turn. So, hour number one will be released 11:55 tonight, and through the launch of the new website, we're finding that the podcast feed updates at breakneck speed. So I might actually wait until 1 a.m. tomorrow morning so it's up and ready when you get out of the rack and get your day going. Listen to it in the car on the way to work, or save it for the weekend when you mow the lawn, whatever you do, or however you consume your podcast. Hour number two will be released on Thursday, and I'll talk to you about Friday here in just 1 second. Still to come on the show this evening, Susie Bulloch from Hey Grill Hey and Seth Sawyer from Char-Broil, the product manager out there. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platform partners. You can go to YouTube or Twitch/BBQ Central Show. You can also watch on YouTube/RD Rempe, where there is a robust chat going on, but we also have a YouTube poll question of the week. Maybe I missed the YouTube update, because I hate YouTube as much as they hate me. But I believe you can also find the show youtube.com/@ like the @ sign, at BBQ Central Show, instead of the RD Rempe. I'm sure RD Rempe gets you to where you want to go, but they've changed that. Maybe I changed that. I don't remember. But youtube.com/@ BBQ Central Show should also get you to the show homepage. Who gives a shit about that? It's time to update the YouTube poll question of the week. I asked you, does it matter if a barbecue restaurant has Brunswick stew or not? 100% of you are saying no. I'm shocked. I think it matters. Wes Wright said no, but he wanted to say yes, but I think he cowered to the vocal majority, that being 100%. But we'll see if that tracks through the rest of the show. We still got two more guests to go through, and who knows who's going to pop in and weigh in through the poll. I'm sure there's going to be some type of spoiler out there just so it's not 100% one way or the other. So we'll keep track on that. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less this coming Friday, episode 282, taking you back to May 22nd, 2012. Featured this week is the creator of a company and product that is still around today, named Mojo Bricks. The owner's name, Fred Gross. Ironically enough, Fred has ties here to Bomb City, USA. I believe his wife was originally from Eastlake, Ohio, which is the city just west of me here in Willoughby. So I've actually met Fred in person a few times and been on the receiving end of some test products back in the day when he was really full-blown into Mojo Bricks. And within this episode, we talk about his background and We also talk about how he got into the whole barbecue business and then how that pushed him into the Mojo brick side of things. Fred's product, unique. It's compressed sawdust, not a pellet, but it's like a wood cube. I believe they're just cubes now, but back in the day, he was making Mojo bricks and Mojo logs. You could supplement an offset fire pit with these Mojo logs, and they would burn for hours on end. And they were 100% whatever wood he was doing, maple, oak, apple, just big. They looked like a cinder block brick, but it was compressed sawdust. So very unique, especially at that time. If you're looking for something that can give you good, clean smoke and do it for a long period of time, then I would suggest hitting the Googles and seeing where you might be able to grab them present day. That's Fred Gross, and the company is Mojo Bricks, MOJOBRICKS, Mojo Bricks. Don't forget, if you want to hear a guest or a segment again on this show that you feel has been lost in the archives, email John and let him know what you would like to hear, JON at thebbqcentralshow.com.
A Barbecue Central Show exclusive news update.
Greg Rempe reporting from the breaking news desk here in Cleveland, Ohio, the city that breaks the most live fire breaking news across the country, nay, the globe. The first All-Star Barbecue Series event is happening this weekend. That's right. The famous Dave's and World Food Championships collab is getting ready to run a number of weeks through like almost 3 months here this summer. And it starts this weekend in Las Vegas. Now, what can you expect if you go to the event? You can expect it to run between 12 and 4 p.m. Free barbecue wings for the first 200 attendees. A chance to win a free Gateway drum smoker. That's the price of admission right there. You can meet famous Dave Anderson at selected dates, so go to the website and check those out. You can also watch a celebrity pitmaster along with other barbecue all-stars as they go head-to-head for ultimate bragging rights. And the grand prize, did I mention, there is a live DJ. Hey-oh! Right. So, if you like live DJs, you like barbecue all-stars and celebrity chefs and Dave Anderson and a chance to win a free Gateway drum smoker, go to Las Vegas at the famous Dave's out there between 12 and 4, and you can see it all go down. All the details at famousdaves.com/all-star BBQ series, all one word together. famousdaves.com/all-star BBQ series. And by the way, the next event in just a couple weeks' time, June 3rd, 2023 in El Paso, Texas. Friend of the show, Jason Kaplan, is writing a review of Martin's Barbecue. This was written by Jason and not artificial intelligence. And I quote, until I say unquote, I went to Nashville hoping to hit at least one of the 3 barbecue places, Martin's, Hattie B's, or Peg Leg Porkers. Unfortunately, I only got to one of them, Martin's. Got there between 11:30 and noon on a Saturday. Line was not long, but shortly after we ordered, the line was already out the door. Nashville seemingly sleeps in on Saturday morning. Place was a ghost town before noon. First impressions. Place smells great. You can smell the wood, something you rarely get in a New York City barbecue joint where Jason is from. It was really large. I always think of a barbecue place as tiny, but the staff was insanely friendly and helpful, greeting you at the door, telling you where to go and how to get your food, checking on us constantly. Just great service. I ordered the big 3, pork, brisket, and ribs. We also got the smash burger and their fried bologna sandwich and sides, mac and cheese, coleslaw, fries, cornbread, hoe cake, broccoli salad, and potato salad. Tons and tons of drinking options, 3 full bars, fully stocked from beer to whiskey. We did the beer. You order at the counter and take a number to any table. This place is huge. We sat outside. The food was available to us almost instantly. Here's the food reviews. Brisket, perfect, salty, peppery. The pieces we had from there were on the lean end, which makes it a little bit more impressive that it was still that moist. On the rib side, Tennessee dry style, lots of loose finishing rub on top, delicious, fall off the bone. Highlight for me, dipped them in some of their sweet sauce a few times, but it didn't need it. How about that? Then the pork. This was interesting. It's not shoulder. They do a whole hog there. I thought it was bland. It was perfect texture, though. But then I realized they had a sweet vinegar sauce on the table, Jack's Creek, And when this was added to the pork, it was amazing. And then we put some sauce on the pork, on the slaw, on the white bread. It was delicious. The burger, classic smash burger done perfectly. Old school bologna. I was not going to order this because who the fuck wants bologna? But my friends who had been there before insisted on it, and holy shit, this was the biggest surprise for me. It's not Oscar Mayer bologna. It's a big, thick, fresh bologna like a chub. Served thick slice on a roll with yellow mustard and pickles. Amazing. I wanted to eat the whole thing. I don't know how this is a Martin's thing, a Tennessee thing, whatever. It's 10 out of 10. Side note, I'm 100% going to make this at home. Maybe even try it with mortadella instead of bologna. Overall, Martin's fantastic. Great experience, great food, great people. Very glad if we only went to one place. This was it. Only criticism. After we ate, I wanted to buy some merch, and that wasn't that easy. But I bought some online, and they got me in it. So 10 out of 10. By the way, a timely review by Jason Kaplan from The Howard Stern Show, because I've had at least 3 or 4 people say they were going to Nashville, and where should they go? And I say Martin's. Justified. Now I'm looking into my switcher box here, and I'm very worried about something. But I'm not going to portray my worry to the general global internet public. No. I'm instead going to launch my Microsoft Word program and make sure that I did this properly. And if not, the day that I need Word to take all day to launch, well, good news. It's taking all day to launch. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right, now we're finally up. We'll go to call-in links. We'll go to this one. I swear I sent it, but let's not go nuts here. They're probably sitting with bated breath. Where's the link? Where's the link? Well, we're sending it right now, of course. When we come back, we hope to have at least Susie, and if not Todd, or both, right here on the show as we do a quarterly segment. We never saw a link in your emails. Can you send? We're standing by. How about that? We're on the same wavelength. So we'll have them when we come back. You stick around, and we'll be right back.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet, currently available in 3 sizes with a host of accessories to complete that Pit Barrel cooking experience. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner or professional, definitely a cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. Leading off the second hour this evening and joining me for the first time here in 2023, almost halfway through the year, is the creator of the Hey Grill Hey brand, also a TV cooking competitor and judge, a content creator, recipe developer. Of course, we're talking about our pal Susie Bulloch from Hey Grill Hey. Susie, before we get going tonight, of course, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody. This question: does it matter to you that if you go to a barbecue restaurant that it has Brunswick stew on the menu, yes or no?
It doesn't matter to me if it has it or not, but if it's on there, I will probably order it.
All right, so it's a no, but it doesn't matter, but if it's there, you will eat. Kind of like,
yeah.
Well, I'm a huge fan, so if it doesn't have Brunswick stew, I'm a little disappointed. Wes Wright from cookoutnews.com was exactly in your lane. It's not there, no worries. But if it's there, it's probably a good chance he's going to get a bowl. And if it's really good, he's probably going to go home with an additional bowl.
Uh-huh.
I've often thought, you look at this Brunswick stew, and my first thought in the beginnings of my barbecue journey was maybe this isn't such a really great barbecue place. Because if the Brunswick stew is that good, that means the barbecue isn't being sold, and you have to find a way to get rid of the extra barbecue meat. So now you've made a great Brunswick stew. Is that a misnomer in your opinion?
I've never thought that the barbecue place was bad if they had Brunswick stew. That wasn't an immediate assumption. But I'm a big fan of Brunswick stew in my house because as much as every time I post a leftover recipe on Facebook or anywhere, I get leftover barbecue. What's that? But also I cook an ungodly amount of barbecue at my house with my job and the people that we have around. I cook so much barbecue. I regularly have leftover barbecue. So Brunswick stew has kind of become a little bit of a savior for me in terms of being able to actually eat what we make, because Todd does not love leftovers. He's been on the show before. If you're not familiar, Taste Test Todd is my husband. He is responsible for eating all of the food that I make, but he does not love leftover meat. He's pretty particular about it. And Brunswick stew is one of the few ways that I can actually get him to eat leftover barbecue. So I love a good Brunswick stew.
Do you have a recipe off the top of your head that you would like to share with us as we kick off the question, what should we be making for Memorial Day?
Sure. Or how about the day after Memorial Day?
Yeah, of course.
On Memorial Day, you make all of the barbecue. The day after Memorial Day, you put it in a big pot and you have a stew. So on my website, I have hundreds of recipes on my website or on the Hey Grill Hey app. You can download that in the App Store or in the Google Play Store, whatever type of device you have, the app is there. But if you just type in Brunswick stew, I do have a recipe. I like to make mine with brisket and pulled pork, but it's also incredibly delicious with smoked chopped chicken. You can even do pulled rib meat. We do chuck roast in there, literally anything that you have that is great cooked at that higher temperature that kind of gives you that melt in your mouth, fall apart consistency is the way to go. There is some discretion for people on what goes into a Brunswick stew, right? It's kind of made with customizations in mind. So I am a person that likes mine with onion, celery, and bell pepper, but I know and I use fresh garlic. Some people it's no garlic, and some people instead of onion, celery, and bell pepper, some people do carrots. I prefer the bell pepper. It's more like the Holy Trinity that you get in kind of that Cajun Louisiana style cooking. I also like corn in mine, but it's pretty standard to have lima beans. And I'm not a huge lima bean fan, so we go with corn instead. But it's very customizable, and then it kind of has this tomato-y barbecue style base with I like lots of Worcestershire sauce in there, and it's kind of this delicious chili meets barbecue stew kind of a situation, and I love it.
From a viscosity or thickness standpoint, are you a little bit more on the loose, soupy side, or is it more stiff?
I'm more like a stew, but not quite a chili, if that makes sense. Chili is a really thick, it coats your spoon. And soup is you get the thinner broth thing. I feel like a Brunswick stew is kind of that sweet spot right in the middle.
So now we've helped people for the day after Memorial Day and what they should be doing. But what should we be doing for Memorial Day? That's the big deal. That's the kickoff to grilling and barbecue season for those folks that deal in seasons. Of course, we don't, Susie. That's a nonsense talk.
Listen, we cook all year.
Yeah. So what should we be making for Memorial Day?
I think some of the most popular recipes on my site around Memorial Day are smoked ribs. That seems to be a classic across the board. Lots of people doing briskets, and I think we're going to see a lot of briskets this year. I don't know what it's like in your area, but prices have started to come down for whole packer brisket. So we're seeing more and more people start cooking brisket and ribs again because it's a little bit more affordable than it has been the past couple of years. So if you've been holding off on the big meats, I think this might be a year to go for it because prices are coming down. And it's let's kick off the season. I feel like the last couple years have been kind of weird, and we just want to eat barbecue and chill, man. Like,
I think we got a T-shirt ready to go for print. Let's eat barbecue and chill.
Yeah, that's a great plan. World peace.
Rib-wise,
but yeah.
Rib-wise, what's the method for you?
I have cooked ribs a bajillion different ways because I want to test all the different methods. But right now, what we're doing the most is running them at about 275. We'll do a slather. My slather right now is my Zesty Gold mustard-based barbecue sauce. So it's got like kind of that classic mustard vibe, but a little bit of sweetness, and you've got those whole grain pops of mustard in there. So it's really awesome to start from a texture perspective. And then we'll hit them with the rib rub, put them on at 275 in the offset, and just let them roll for about 4.5 to 5-ish hours. I peek on them every once in a while. I'll spritz with apple juice if it looks like they're kind of, drying out. I like to keep the outsides a little bit tacky. I'm a saucer, so I typically will sauce in the last half hour, but Todd's a no sauce guy. So if we're doing two racks, we'll do a dry rack and a sauced rack, and they're usually bendy and pulling back from the bone and ready to go, kind of around that 4.5 to 5 hour mark at 275.
I'm not hearing any foiling.
I'm a spares girl all the way. I love to foil if I am going for a specific flavor profile. So on my website, I have a lot of different flavor profiles for ribs. I have like apple jalapeno ribs or fireball peach ribs. And so if I'm looking to dial in and really infuse the meat itself with a specific flavor, then I love to foil wrap and kind of get all of that flavor into the rib meat itself. And then I'll usually reinforce it with a sauce or a glaze that mirrors the flavors that are in the rub. And that's kind of like a high impact. But I think the more that I cook barbecue, the lazier I get. And so if I can just like chuck it on there and not think about it for 5 hours, fantastic. And all I got to do is kind of babysit the fire. Great. But if I'm just cooking them on my pellet smoker, then I don't have to worry about babysitting my fire, and I can put a little bit more time and attention into, the foiling and the saucing and all the fun things.
What kind of offset do you get?
We have a sweet, beautiful, really affordable Char-Griller Smokin' Champ. I think it clocks in at like $329. I kid you not. I've had some
I've heard
bigger
nightmares about those things.
Beastier. I love it. We live in a really temperate area. I think if you're battling, wind and rain and exterior issues, like sure, it probably would be a little bit of a pain to cook on because it's not super thick steel, but we live in a temperate area, so it's not a big deal for us. We can get that thing running at 275 every 45 minutes, go check a log on, and it just chugs along. And I think the price point is pretty sweet. And I like that I can wheel it in and out of we have a little smoker garage on the back of our house. And I can put it away and I can pull it out, and it's easy to use and ready to go and easy to clean. And it made it honestly made offset smoking a lot more accessible to me because it wasn't a whole thing. It heats up really fast. Like, when you're bringing an offset smoker up to temperature, you have to build the fire an hour before, let it come up, regulate, all of that. Like it's lickety split. I can get that thing up to temp in 15 to 20 minutes and it's ready to cook on. So it just made it a lot more accessible from a backyard busy person perspective to still have that offset experience without all of the intimidation factor and overhead expense and time investment.
So we have brisket and ribs for the main meats. What are one or two favorite sides?
Ooh, okay. I have a barbecue chicken pasta salad on my website that I feel like is a sleeper hit. Because, a lot of times it's like the cornbread and, like all of the things that we get. But I have this barbecue chicken salad, and it has smoked chicken and the dressing, which I think makes or breaks a pasta salad in my example, or in my opinion. So the dressing for this one is like this awesome combination of mayo and sour cream and lemon juice, but it also has my fish and veggie rub, which is kind of like a fresher version of like a ranch seasoning. It doesn't have like the MSG or the milk powder, but it has all those ranch seasonings. And then my barbecue sauce. So it's kind of like a barbecue ranch dressing for the pasta salad. So it's creamy and tangy, and it's fantastic. And it covers all the bases. It's got like big chunks of cheddar in there and avocado, and it's real, real good.
So head over to Susie's website. Make sure you get all these. Try them out for Memorial Day here in like a week and a half or whenever it is. So heygrillhey.com or download the app she was talking about. You can have it right there in the palm of your hand. 2023 Barbecue Hall of Fame inductee, Susie, will be announced in about a week and a half, exclusively here on this show, at 3 p.m. A week from tomorrow. And there is a list of 10 finalists, which I sent to Todd, and hopefully you've had a chance to review. Okay. So if you had a vote, look, let's make sure that we say all this up front. We love everybody on the list. Everybody deserves to be on the list, blah, blah, blah. We're all big boys and girls here, ladies and gentlemen. So if you had a vote to pick your top 4, who would you be putting into the Barbecue Hall of Fame this year?
Number 1, Flora Payne.
All right.
I think, I mean, listen, I will vote for a woman to enter the Barbecue Hall of Fame every single year because every woman that has cooked barbecue has blazed a trail for me to be able to do what I currently do. Every single one of them. So Flora Payne, absolutely. Her place is an establishment in she's in Memphis, right?
Yeah.
Why can't I remember?
What I find amazing about Flora Payne, not to diverge you off of your bold answers here, is that when you look at Flora Payne and then you look at Desiree Robinson, I mean, you couldn't have 2 more exact lifelines that are going on. Husbands start barbecue restaurants. Husbands get lazy and die. And now these women are taking over the barbecue restaurants. It's unbelievable. These women have taken over the restaurants, and now it's like, through the generations now. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And in the same city.
Yes. It is a multi-generational restaurant, and I think she just celebrated 50 years at Payne's, like pretty recently. So this is a show, or this is a restaurant that, like you said, it is multi-generational. It has impacted the community for a really long time. And she herself has been a trailblazer in the community. So Flora Payne's my number 1.
All right.
My number 2 is Malcolm Reed.
All right.
I don't think a few other people on the list have had the impact that Malcolm has had on expanding the barbecue community. And his has been mostly through digital media, which I think is fantastic. It's a newer approach to barbecue than what we've seen in previous nominees that have been accepted into the Hall of Fame. Because, we had the competition space, we have the restaurant space, we have the television space. But Malcolm has really forged his own path in reaching people and bringing people into that barbecue community. So that is my second vote.
Right.
My third is Dave Raymond, Sweet Baby Ray's. I think the reach, again, not in the TV or commercial space, but just, in the grocery space specifically, has been massive. And to not have it be, I know that it's been purchased and all of these things. Sweet Baby Ray's is not what it was when he started it, but to have him come from a really authentic space and grow that into such, a noteworthy and national brand, I think is fantastic. Okay, who was my last one? I can't remember. I got my list right here. I don't know. I feel like there are a lot. I was kind of going back and forth between several of them. So Roger Mooking, I think, is one from a television perspective is awesome because he hasn't just highlighted pitmasters. You kind of go back and forth. It's either the competition space or the restaurant space. Like, he has just focused on great outdoor cooking and great barbecue and great wood-fired cooking. And so the shows that he's done have really exposed a lot of his audience to new styles of cooking outside of just traditional American barbecue, which I think is really awesome. I think Byron Chisholm is an awesome nominee. I know that he's been on the list before, but he has such a history, man. And, the butt rub is iconic. I think the butt rub has been on the market for
25 years.
25 years. Yeah. And as somebody who's creating a product in, the barbecue line, like, I could only hope to have a product that has that much durability and longevity in the market space. So those were kind of my two on the fourth pick there.
All right. So if you had to pick between those two, who are you putting it?
Byron.
Byron. All right. Well, I appreciate your honesty and your, as Daniel Vaughn said, we are courageous on the show. So I appreciate your courageousness. A couple minutes left here, Susie. So I know tomorrow you are probably either getting in a car or jumping a bird and heading
Wheels
to the
up on an
aforementioned
airplane.
Memphis. So what are you looking forward to at Memphis in May, the 2023 version?
I cannot wait to see all of my friends. The barbecue family is big and wide, and I'm out here in Utah, which is kind of like a barbecue island a little bit. We have some amazing talent here, but I have friends from all over the country, and Memphis kind of feels like a family reunion where everybody gets back together and you get to see people that you haven't seen all year, that aren't always on the competition circuit or, circulating around, but they show up for Memphis. So I'm excited to see all my friends. I'm cooking with a really fun team this year. I'm cooking with Joe from Slaps in Kansas City.
Oh, lucky
and I know it's going to be so much fun. There are some really cool people on his team, and we're going to be doing the whole hog. I get to enter the beef category this year and hopefully help out with a couple other categories. We're turning one of my sauces in as well. So, looking forward to see how everything plays out and how the results fall.
Is that something I should go to?
It's wild. Yes, absolutely. You should go to Memphis in May once in your life. Even just buy a spectator pass. Not only is...
I pay for nothing, Susie. You know who I am.
Oh, okay. Walk
Dare
in
you.
with your knowledge.
Just walk in.
I don't know how you get in. They always make me have a tag. I'm not as cool as you, though, so there's that.
Now I think we have an argument now.
But it's worth walking through the park because all of your favorite pitmasters that you've ever seen on TV are there. And they're all just like hanging out, cooking barbecue, and shooting the breeze. So the accessibility of people that you probably otherwise don't have an opportunity to talk to is insane. But additionally, all of these really massive brands are there in the barbecue and grilling space. And they're running demos and doing samples and having people show up. And it feels like the most barbecue-focused party you've ever been to. And it's just a delight to be a part of. So I highly recommend checking out Memphis in May. I'm grateful every year that I get to go. It's so much fun.
If I told you that Myron Mixon isn't going this year because he accidentally booked a cooking school class on the weekend of Memphis in May, would you believe me?
I would absolutely believe you.
It's 100% true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Can you give me context on this?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I can. I can give you context on this. So my friend Rachel, she's one of my best friends. She earned her gold play button on YouTube, which means 1 million YouTube subscribers. It's a pretty substantial event. And it was her birthday, so she wanted to have a gold party but got really ill and wasn't actually able to throw it for herself. And she's been ill for a couple of years now, and her health is declining. And so a group of our friends got together and decided, you know what, she needs to have her gold party. So we threw her gold party.
Wow.
And naturally, we had to go all out. So I got Todd a gold and black suit from Amazon to match my dress.
Wow.
And
is that where you got your dress?
Listen, I did not get my dress from Amazon.
Okay.
I did find it on the internet though, and
I mean,
just
they
bought
couldn't
it
be
sight
almost
unseen.
100% matching.
So similar. I mean,
Holy
magical.
moly.
It was a magical event, and also I think we were the best dressed couple. I mean, I know it was
I would
her
leave
party,
if I showed up and saw you guys. I
Listen.
would head for the hills. Holy moly, you guys are dynamic. Susie's got the what's happening. Todd's looking for the next barbecue sandwich.
Yeah,
and this is
it was
unbelievable.
a great amount of fun.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, congratulations on that. And safe travels to you and to Todd. Please give him my well wishes and everybody in the Bulloch family. And we will see you again in a quarter.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Greg.
All right. See you later. That's Susie Bulloch right there, getting ready to make her way to Memphis, Tennessee for Memphis in May. And she says, yes, absolutely, I should make it out there. And as I said, as Wes Wright was leaving, maybe that should be something that Wes Wright and I do together next year in 2014. We'll see. Maybe Seth Sawyer is going to be going to Memphis in May. We'll see in 1 second as he's ready to go. Before we get to him, I'll talk to you quickly about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies, getting you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at Big Papa Smokers has been Pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself. From the award-winning rubs to the American-made grills and smokers, Big Papa's has something for every outdoor cook. 13 perfectly balanced flavors of rubs and seasonings, popular flavors like Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, Double Secret Steak Rub, Desert Gold, Hallelujah, you name it. These are all great. Use them every day in my kitchen and in the backyard. And so's in everybody else on the competition circuit, or just everyday ham and eggers just like me, trying to be the best backyard warrior we can be. Big Papa's is outfitting us with some great flavor. Also, the owner of Granny's Barbecue Sauce. So if you're looking for a new go-to sauce that will please everybody, Granny's traditional yet powerful flavor reminds us of why we fell in love with barbecue in the first place. And then, of course, they are selling the cookers. Are you looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use? Check out that Mac 2-Star General Pellet Cooker. Big Papa Smokers, the exclusive Mac dealer, even offering special packages. If you're looking at the website, you're not sure what you want or need, maybe you have some questions, call them and ask. 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or once again, shop the website at bigpopsmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. We are back with Seth Sawyer right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. And we thank Susie Bulloch for joining us last segment. HeyGrillHey.com is her website. And you can download the Hey Grill Hey app. It's free. Download it. Have access to all those nice recipes and all the other stuff that you can get on the website, but now in the comfort of your own hand right there. HeyGrillHey.com. Coming out of the bullpen tonight, second-time guest of the show, product manager over Char-Broil. We talked a bit about the Edge last year, but given the amount of attention electric grills have gotten on this show and in the industry over the past 5 or 6 months, I thought it'd be a good idea to have him back on and refresh ourselves a bit with this cooker, but perhaps more importantly, talk about this new conversation that has come up, which is the 110 versus 220 power need and where the truth is on this matter. So, without any further ado, we welcome back Seth Sawyer. Hey, Seth.
Hey, Greg. How you doing?
I am absolutely fabulous. Appreciate you making time for the show once more and excited to talk about the Edge here this evening. But let's go ahead and lead with what we've been talking with every other guest about, the YouTube poll question of the week, which is this. Seth, does it matter to you if a barbecue restaurant has Brunswick stew on the menu, yes or no?
I don't think so. I mean, some of my favorite restaurants don't have it.
All right. So currently 100% of voters are in agreement saying no, they don't care if Brunswick stew is on the menu. So that looks like it might pull its weight all the way through a wire-to-wire winner. 100% no. So we'll see how that goes here through the remainder of the evening. So before we get into the breakdown of the Edge unit itself, let's go ahead and have that electricity conversation up front. Just to set the stage a little bit, like a month and a half, 2 months ago, I was at the HPBA Expo in Louisville, and I spoke to a number of CEOs or high-ranking officials at all the folks that were exhibiting out there. And I asked everyone, what do you think about 2023 being the year of the full-size electric grill? And everybody thought that it was valid, or they have some concepts, or they want to get something in the works, or maybe they already have something coming down the pipe. But to a man and woman, they all said, this is 220 space. This isn't 110 space. So I posed the question back to you as somebody who has a 110 product on the market right now that seems to be doing pretty well. Where do you sit on 220, and why would these other manufacturers say this is what it needs to be when it looks like that's a bunch of headaches?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think the answer is that 220 makes everything a whole lot easier. But it's also just not practical for a lot of consumers, right? And so Edge being 110 kind of was the big breakthrough. And to be honest, we've had a lot of conversations when we go to trade shows and stuff, and people are looking at 220. But so far, Edge has been the only one that's been able to kind of break through that, that performance limitation with the 110. And to be honest, when you look at some of the science behind it, electric is not the most efficient heat source. It's not as efficient as a direct flame or charcoal or anything like that. And so there are some limitations there, and it is a technical challenge how to get around it. And so it's not easy. I kind of thought that once we came out with Edge, there would be some fast followers that sort of looked at what we did and tried to duplicate it, but it hasn't really happened yet. Electric grills are a whole lot bigger in Europe because of the 220 volt, 240 volt thing than they are in the U.S. But like you said, so far it's been a challenge to get it down to the 110 size.
When you were developing the cooker, did you have a 220 version, or is there a 220 volt sitting in the warehouse somewhere?
Well, so we actually we have a Char-Broil European team and office, and they launched a European version of the Edge product just this year, actually. So it's called the Smart E, and it's available in Europe in the 220 volt platform. But most people start with 220 and then try to bring it down to 110. We actually never even looked at 220. Our whole focus and our whole project was about delivering this in 110 for the U.S. market. To be honest, that doing it in 220 is easy, right? So we did that after we proved out the 110 volts.
I'm not very bright, so help me understand from a performance standpoint why 220. I mean, I get that it's double the amount, but what are we looking at from heating up or temperature ranges, things like this?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the specs of most of the electric grills in the U.S., most of them will call out max temperatures of anywhere from 450 to 550. A couple of them will say they max at 600, but they're really small. A lot of almost all of them are 240 inches or below. Some of the more expensive ones are 150 square inches, which is, at that point you're talking about 2 steaks and your grate's full. And so electric is it can heat a small surface area fine. The problem becomes as soon as you go over that 200 square inch size, it's just not the most efficient means of heating space. And so size is really the constraint more so than heat. And so as you get bigger, if you go over 200 inches, 240 inches, you typically have to sacrifice performance. So your heat up times go down and your max temperature goes down as well. But the Edge happens to simultaneously be both the biggest and the hottest one at the 110 volt rating right now.
You had mentioned you thought maybe there were going to be some quick jumpers on to get something to market. I had heard for any number of months at this point that Napoleon was going to be releasing. I thought the one that Weber was putting out earlier in the year was going to be a full-size grill, but it ended up being just like an electric version of whatever the Weber Q looks like. Now, I've heard from a number of folks that have it. It's got great space, versatile, blah, 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 but it's not a full-sized, doesn't look like a big full-size gas grill that's electric. It looks like a portable grill. What do you think are people just not ready to do or compete in the 110 space because they just don't feel comfortable with it, even though you've proven it out?
I think it's one, still the technical challenge. Every company's engineering group has to kind of go and how they can do some of the things that we did. And the other is just, when you're kind of trying to create something new, it takes a while for people to get out of the habit. And for 15 plus years, electric grills have always been patio, portable, table top type things. And so, some of our
yikes. Wes? All right. Well, we'll do a little traveling music here while we wait for Wes to reconnect in. He was doing really good there, and it seemed like the internet was cratering right before our very eyes.
Competitors and some of the other...
Oh, here he comes. Wes, you there?
Oh.
Yeah, all right. So somewhere between technology, you dropped out, and now you're back.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that.
That's right.
Yeah, I think it's a question of, they do have to figure out the tech side of things to be able to deliver that performance. But there's also, the issue of electric grills have always been for 15, 20 years. They've been these portable tabletop things, and it's hard for people to get out of that mindset. And I think our competitors and some other big grill brands just aren't even thinking about the fact that there's these whole batches of consumers out there that want to have a full-size grill and either can't, like aren't allowed to, or are tired of messing with propane. And so right now they don't have a whole lot of options, and I think people haven't necessarily recognized that yet.
Wes Sawyer joining us here on the show from Char-Broil, product manager over there. So let's dive into the Edge a little bit more. How long did it take to get to market, and when did you officially launch it?
Yeah, so we launched it last summer or late last spring, I guess, around about a year ago. It was probably a 2-year development from the time we had the idea to the time it went live on the site. But we did launch it last summer. It's available on charbroil.com, and then a couple select retailers. We did sort of a controlled, a little bit more of a measured launch with it being such a new thing. To be honest, we knew it was a unique enough product that it wasn't quite ready to just be, dropped in the middle of a Lowe's or a Home Depot floor just yet. And so we've kind of been a little more cautious with the rollout of it.
How does it work?
It works great in my mind. So it's just in terms of some general specs, it's 330 inches. So it's about the size of a 3-burner gas grill. If you're looking at like a mid-range gas grill, it's about that same size. It'll heat up to 700 degrees max temperature, which is hotter than some gas grills even will get. It'll get up to 500 degrees in 15 minutes. I don't know how familiar you cook on infrared, but it is an infrared cooking system, and it uses, one of the unique features of it is the grates are 100% anodized aluminum. And so obviously that will never rust. Also gives you a much more even heat distribution, and it's a big part of the heat up time that we're able to do there. It's a very premium finish for sure, but it's a part of how that product can deliver the performance that it does.
When you open the lid, let's say we get it to 500 or 600 degrees. By the way, when you look at it from a user interface perspective, it's just a single dial. You set the temperature, punch it in, and
correct.
Now it's off and racing. So once you get to 500, 550, 600, whatever, and then you lift the hood to flip burgers or flip steaks or whatever, and you close it, I mean, all the heat's getting out very quickly. How quick does it recover versus a gas or a charcoal cooker?
Yeah, I think that it is dead on par with a gas or a charcoal grill, and it's miles ahead of other electrics, because that is honestly where most electrics struggle today. You can take some of the other products out there and you can heat them up to the max temp, and you put a steak on or some chicken, and it'll sear the first side fine, but once you open the lid, all the heat's gone and it never recovers. And you'll notice the second side, after you flip it, never gets a very good sear mark, and that's because it dropped 250 degrees and just kind of never recovered. But this one, with the sort of high efficiency element system that we built, and then combined with the aluminum grates, it heats back up really quick, and so that allows you to do more open lid cooking. You can check on food and not worry about having to lose the heat, throw down a bunch of frozen stuff, and it does recover so it truly gives you the experience and the same results and performance as cooking on just an outright gas grill.
And you just need a regular outlet. Can you run an extension cord to it as well, or is that kind of guarded against?
Yep. No, you can. I mean, we recommend it's got a 12-foot cord, so it's got a decent length already. We recommend just plugging it in, but the only thing that we say is to get the best performance, just have it on a dedicated circuit. Nothing special. Just don't have like a blender plugged into the other side of it or whatever, because you want to be able to pull, all the wattage out of that outlet, but no special requirements at all.
From a taste perspective, we know what we get when juices will hit a flavorizer bar and a gas grill, vaporize, go back up into the meat. Obviously, we know what we're dealing with in charcoal. Similar with the Edge then?
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions with electric. When you're talking about live fire products, that's one thing. But when you're looking at a gas grill, so many people seem to think that you need that flames themselves, actual flames, are creating all these flavors, and that not even flames from drippings, but flames from the burners. And that's just not the case. What you need is heat. in some fat and some salt and some other things, right? And so this grill gets hot enough, and then with the infrared system, that it smokes a ton. If I put a fatty steak down and I've got this thing heated up to 600, it will smoke every bit as much as a gas grill will. You can also get flare-ups on it. I mean, because it's heated so hot that the fat drips down, and it acts just like fat dripping onto vaporizer bars on a gas grill. And so, there's actually there was a review, and one of the media partners put out a review, and my favorite quote from it was, he said, "After cooking on this, my clothes smelled like I had been grilling. And then if you blindfolded me and gave me a steak from this and a gas grill, I would not be able to tell you which one was which." And so it truly does replicate it. And honestly, on some of the other electrics, there is a difference. You don't get the same sights and smells, the same smoke, the same sort of sizzling and all that stuff. But this one will give you all of that.
In a next generation of Edge, maybe you're working on something like this already, but do you have a power booster or some way to, quicken up even the preheating portion?
Absolutely. I can say that we are always looking for the next thing. We're always looking to make incremental and large improvements. And so we're looking at ways to do, how do you heat up even faster? 700 degrees is pretty hot, but we also look at maybe how can you go hotter than, how can you make a grill that's bigger in size but still electric? So we're looking at all that stuff continually. And what I would say is Edge is not a one and done thing for us. It's very much the beginning of something we like to focus on.
Just for the grill itself, what are we looking at price point wise?
$799 is the MSRP, but we actually are running some promotions and stuff now, and so you can get it for about $599. It's on Amazon, on Char-Broil.com. Occasionally run some promotions even below that. We had it at $499 a week or two ago, and so about $599 is where you can expect to see it.
Anything else on the Edge before I ask a couple other Char-Broil but non-Edge related questions?
No, I think you covered it good. The big one I wanted to talk about was some of those flavor misconceptions, right, and where that comes from on gas grill. And the other thing I would say is there's whole groups of people out there, people that live in condos, people that live in apartments, older people that can't deal with driving to the gas station with a 20-pound propane tank strapped in the back. There's all these other people that we've talked to out there that want to grill and just can't mess with gas grills anymore. And so we've made this for them, and also kind of to open the door to some other people when they realize that you can get the same performance without some of those hassles.
I wanted to ask you, underneath the grill grate, is the heating element there, or is the heating element in a protected environment and it's just generating the heat? You have to worry about, fat or whatever else dripping down directly onto the element.
No, so it's if you look at the construction of the grill, the grates, it's a one-piece grate system, but it's an infrared grate, so it blocks most of the drippings. There's some portholes that come through, and then the element tray is underneath it, and the drip holes don't directly go onto the element, but you don't have to do anything special. You can treat it just like a gas grill. You can leave it in the rain or do whatever. It's been certified all the same ways, and so the element trays and stuff have the same lifespan and same serviceability as burners on a gas grill do.
I was talking with Wes Wright at the bottom of the first hour, and we were talking about Char-Broil and Gorilla Grills specifically, and we weren't talking about the grills at all. We were talking about the fact that both companies have really great and affordable modular kitchen pieces that neither of you guys seem to care about promoting at all. And we're trying to figure out why in our opinion, and who are we, but they seem to be nice, quality, something that you don't have to, like Wes said, get a contractor out of your house to trench into the yard and pour stone and all this other stuff. Why not go about marketing those pieces a little bit more?
I'm really glad you said that, because I agree. It is a really nice piece, and not having to get contractor and cement and all that stuff together is good. They look great when they're together, and the quality of them is good. And honestly, I think that's a really good question. We get caught up in innovation and what's next a lot, and sometimes I think you don't always pay enough attention to the products that you do have. And that's one of the ones that everybody who's got them, the reviews are great. We
Yep.
hear great things from the people who have it, and might be something we should pay a little more attention to.
Seth Sawyer is the product manager over Char-Broil, talking about the Edge here. So if you're interested, head on over to charbroil.com, take a look at it, and then buy if you are so inclined. Seth, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You got it. That's Seth right there. So if you were concerned that this full-size electric grill isn't going to give you the live fire flavor that you've been thinking about or used to, there are users that have it, that have used it, said, hey, you know what? We are experiencing the same stuff that we would get in the traditional cookers as well. So charbroil.com is a place to go to check it out. You can search for reviews online. I'm sure there's a bunch of videos on YouTube as well from folks that have them and are giving their reviews, so you can be an educated consumer if you are in the market for a full-size electric grill. There's really only one out there. Let's go ahead and wrap the show. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Seth Sawyer for joining us from Char-Broil, charbroil.com. He's their product manager. Now, let's go ahead and put the email address to the test and do a rub giveaway. 2 different winners. So, first one to send me an email to this address, greg@thebbqcentralshow.com, and in the subject line put sweet and spicy will win this rub. And the first person to send me an email, greg@thebbqcentralshow.com, and put garlic and herb in the subject line will win this one. Don't put both on one subject line. Independent emails, and 2 winners. So if you're the first one in on both, it doesn't count. You only get one. Sweet and spicy, greg@thebbqcentralshow.com, or garlic and herb, greg@thebbqcentralshow.com, just to confirm that the show email address is continuing to work here as we've gone through the new website relaunch and things are reconnecting. I think I went through 3 months where I didn't have this email working at all. To see the amount of email I was getting over the course of the week after this thing launched. Business opportunities, solicitations, you need to book this idiot on your show, blah, blah, blah. I hadn't got it in 3 months. I left a scathing review on Trustpilot for those kooks that purport to be web designers. Nonsense. Don't ever use them. Before you get a website, you make sure you tell me who you're dealing with, and I'll tell you if you need to run. No names, please, for them anymore. I won't even give them the courtesy of mentioning their name unless it's offline. All the way back in the first hour, we had Stephen Raichlen making a triumphant return to the show. BBQBible.com is the website. And then, third Tuesday of the month, regular in the 35 past the first hour, Wes Wright, cookoutnews.com. Leading the second hour, Susie Bulloch from HeyGrillHey.com, and then closing out the show, Seth Sawyer from Char-Broil, the product manager out there, Char-Broil.com, talking about the full-size electric grill called the Edge. Big show planned for you next week. It's the 4th Tuesday, so Derek Riches is going to be here. I believe there's a Chris Lilly sighting potentially, and the embedded correspondent says we will be deciding who we would put in for the 2023 Barbecue Hall of Fame, which will be announced the following day. 95% of you are saying Brunswick stew, you don't care. I knew there'd be one mother effer blowing the 100. Anyway, how do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Till next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. This is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.